How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lo4f, and today I'm going to go and do a contract called The Power of 1,000 Suns. And it was a good excuse for this one because I don't actually need a crane to take the old Derry for. I've been wanting to do for a while, even though it's not my favourite truck. Not as good as it should be. Yeah, for this one I've got to, well, travel down there to the bottom. I'm on the Heartlands map to get 3 solar panels, but I also need to get 2 metal rolls. So I'm kind of going to double back on myself a little bit. Well, I suppose I don't in the end because I kind of end up cutting up through this swamp. But yeah, it was just the quickest way to kind of get the mission done. What I have already done though is I went to the trailer store and got a step deck. Just because again it's like, I suppose I end up heading halfway there. Originally when I was planning the mission out I was going to grab the solar panels first and then kind of cut across the map to the metal rolls, but yeah, just before I started I kind of realised it'll make a lot more sense to just grab the metal rolls first and then kind of, yeah, get to stick to a more normal route as I go around the map. This first bit I completely ballsed it up. I was when I brought the step deck back to the yard I turned around with the Derry, and because it's got rear steer and everything it turns pretty well, so I was going to kind of do a loop in the yard there, but yeah, I kind of messed it up. Also my trailer got caught on that Zix, that's my crane truck, so it kind of didn't help the situation. But yeah, double back on myself, kind of smashing my way out the fence on the garage to head out the top way. And I've never really been across this swampy section before, but it's kind of to the left of this, like as you look on the map, is where you originally rescue the K7M, was it? The like newer of the 2 tractors. And yeah, like, to be fair, I was unsure. I was like, oh, I hope I don't go through this swamp though and go like half a mile an hour for the next 10 minutes. Yeah, the other option was just fly out the garage as normal, follow the same road up to where I can get the metal rolls from at the crafting zone, and then kind of double back on myself. But I suppose it's partly for the videos. I don't like to double back on myself if I can help it, but I think it's probably just even without the videos I like to go in a nice round trip rather than, yeah, sort of going back and forth. That's one reason why I don't like heading to the trailer store as like the first bit of the video, because almost always with the layout on this kind of map you yeah, end up doubling back on yourself for the first 5 or 10 minutes. And to be fair, this Derry, certainly I still think it's underpowered and all the rest of it, but it did alright through there. I still went with the highway gearbox in the end. I was messing around with the truck a little bit before I started the video. It's funny because when you've just got the Derry actually on its own, it's not terrible. I suppose it's a little bit, I found, like with the P12, it's fine, but then once you get a trailer and cargo and all the rest of it, it starts to struggle a lot more. Yeah, it was sort of the same with this. I was driving down a couple of dirt roads, and as long as I was able to stay in high gear, it kept a pretty nice pace. And I don't know, I was considering like the off-road gearbox, but it's the high gear that I don't really want to go without. So I couldn't do it to myself. Yeah, get over to here though, to the crafting zone. Gotta turn the old generator on. Again, don't skip back change vehicle before the generator animation finishes, because I did it the other month in the live stream, and yeah, it completely just killed the generator to the point I had to go to the trailer store, buy a new generator, take it there. Eventually, now I've kind of quit and reloaded the game and all the rest of it. It seems to be working again, but it absolutely was having none of it during the live stream. Yeah, so first off I need 2 metal rolls, which is not too bad. And yeah, again with this Derry, I mean, to be fair, driving it tonight, even though this mission's reasonably simple, again, it wasn't terrible. I certainly think that they still need to just kind of give it an update. I mean, that winch thing on the back is a bit of a pain in the arse. It's just, I don't know, it gets in the way for no reason. It'd be much cooler if you could switch that out for a crane or something. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't even like it's supposed to be like winches to winch stuff up onto the trailers in real life, but yeah, in this sense it doesn't even have like winch points to it, so it's just completely useless. It's like truck decoration, but ends up getting in the way. So you can see, like now, I was able to stay in high gear as I go through there, but yeah, it just runs out of juice. They still need to add, yeah, a much more powerful engine to this truck, really. I think to a degree as well, because it's got 8 tyres, it kind of shares the power between all of them, and I think that drains it a little bit. Plus, because the rear tyres are all bunched quite closely together, they're not tiny wheels, but they're not massive considering like the size of the truck and all the rest of it. If, in theory, those axles are spread out a little bit more and you could have slightly bigger wheels, I think that would help. Needs a couple of things doing it to it, this does. And yeah, anyway, that's like the first part of the mission done, so I've now basically just got the metal rolls sorted and I can carry on with the mission as normal. Obviously got a goddamn professional with me. You never know when he's gonna come in handy. That's what she said. And yeah, like I say, going through all the missions, this is one of the few where I didn't actually need a crane, so I've been waiting like a little while to use this. There's a couple of other vehicles as well. I think the Freightliner or whatever it is, M9 something or other, code name. It's kind of like a mini version of this, I suppose, because that's got like the winch thing on the back and all the rest of it. And yeah, it's not got that many add-ons considering, because that blocks so many things. And this section of the road, from here to kind of the train yard I'm going to, I went down here the other day in, it might have been the Freightliner 114 SD, and that actually managed to stay in high gear the whole way. And when I drove down here earlier, when I was just messing around with the Derry, that also stayed in high gear all the way down here, which was partly where I was like, well, go on then, I kind of knew this was a little bit of a lighter section compared to some of the off-road bits, but yeah, that's what made me decide to keep it in the end, whereas, as you can see, once you're dragging a bit of weight behind you and all the rest of it. I'm not really sure, like, I'm going to go for the highway gearbox because of the high range thing, but they could probably do with making like a custom special off-road gearbox for this, because I think one of the disappointing things with this truck is it's just got like no guts or torque to it, even if you can get it wound up in high gear and all the rest of it. Yeah, as soon as it faces anything that's a bit rough, it just throws in the towel too quickly. And you can hear now, even the revs are like, they peak pretty high, or at least they sound like they do and all the rest of it, but it just doesn't fight to stay in that rev range or anything. It just kind of, yeah, as soon as you get a bit of rough stuff, it's not happy about it. Thankfully though, there, to be fair, it did actually stay in high, which I thought it was going to kick me out. Got up to about this point and then nope. Well, I've noticed this step deck trailer, that kind of sits pretty low as well, and I'm sure back in the day when I was using this step deck trailer, it kind of acted more like a sled, where as soon as it'd catch on the frame, it'd just kind of slide across terrain and was never really an issue, where I'm sure more recently, probably, you know, still like 6 months, a year probably by now, but yeah, it digs in more, I'm sure it does. So once you actually catch it on the brow of the hill, it's not just with this vehicle, it tends to like slow down a bit anyway. It's kind of like, obviously a smaller version, but it'd be 8 slot, similar problem really. Like if they didn't have that step deck bit on, although it is handy because it's a nice little spot for the goddamn horse. But yeah, it'd be quite cool as well, like since it is a step deck trailer, if it actually had ramps at the back, because if you haven't got ramps to it and it's not really like a vehicle trailer, is there any real need to have it like sit so low? Anyway, grabbed 3 solar panels, and then yeah, kind of following this road up the middle of the map, head over to the left, and then it's right in the top corner, solar plant C or whatever it's called. Just seem to be getting loads of these built at the minute. Although again, they're not too bad, I don't really mind these missions, they're kind of just a good excuse to do a cargo run really. And what's quite nice, unlike some of the missions where they kind of all end up in the same place, at least these different solar power plant things are kind of dotted just in areas of the map that I haven't really had to head to that much, so mixes it up a little bit. Right now it's like, god damn sons of bitches. I think the devs are obsessed, they try and make you, they don't like you cutting corners. I was eyeballing the to see what it was. I was like, is it like a short log or something? It's like a concrete barrier just randomly stuck in the middle of nowhere, so you can't really cut this corner. So I was sort of eyeballing that to see what it was, and then yeah, next thing, smashed into a tree stump, which I suppose indicates quite clearly that this thing isn't just going to ride over tree stumps. Again, with its kind of small tyres, it doesn't really sit too high. I think that's as well probably why the step deck trailer catches quite a bit on this one, because it's yeah, it does sit fairly low. And one thing that would have been nice, obviously, to go with the off-road gearbox, the 3 low ranges would have been handy in certain situations. But as I've sort of learnt from this game a while ago, even if the roads won't let you get out of first gear, or more the coding they've done these days, yeah, just run along the side of the road and then bang it in high and you can carry on. You see, at this pace, it's good stuff, it's going well. And one nice thing with the Derry, or we'll see, but it's got a 400 litre fuel tank, so that actually does last pretty decently, but obviously every time it just loses all its power and you kind of crawling through the mud, you burn in fuel like, say, 20 litres a minute. If you're only covering like 100 metres in a minute, you're yeah, it still then kind of averages out. I mean, you can see probably why they did put a 400 litre tank on, because if this thing had 200, 250, you'd barely get anywhere before it needs rejuicing. I was looking at the paintwork as well. It's not bad. I know it's got a Panther and all the rest of it on it, but I'm not too sure if I like the paint job on this one. Seems a little bit, I don't know, it doesn't pop like some of them do. Like those new ones in the Wolf pack, with the one's got the wolf and the highway truck's got that, like, I don't know, bird on fire. Looks like what was it called, Moltres or something from the original Pokemon. But those paint jobs are pretty nice. So they actually, you see quite a lot of trucks over here that are kind of, someone's airbrushed them and made them all pretty unique at that, and they look pretty cool. So at that point I was just borrowing, like, instead of driving up the hill on the actual dirt road, just go over to the left, borrow the grass. Not that it really made a lot of difference in this one. This thing does struggle, especially when you're climbing up hills. There's probably a better example of it a little bit later. Just about to kind of use the grass again, seeing that bloody tree stump was snuck in there. And the funny thing I've noticed as well is, like, where they put tree stumps, they kind of, it's like they've gone through and thought, right, someone might try and just cut around the road bit here, and they put tree stumps everywhere. But when you actually fully just forget the roads and completely cut across the map, you find them in little patches, but you don't really, at that point, they can't kind of just put one somewhere where they know it'll catch you out. So it's one of them where you sort of get punished for trying to stick to the roads, and then you might, you know, just kind of skirt around a particularly boggy bit, and then yeah, you hit tree stumps. Whereas if you actually just go, yeah, sod sod the roads that the devs made, I'm just going whichever way I feel like it, smash across farmers' fields and all sorts, and yeah, you kind of get an easier time of it. That's what I'm hoping with Phase 9, is less tree stumps preferably, or even just go back to those old tree stumps. I hated them when, well, I still do, but relatively speaking, that you can actually see them, so they don't just hide behind a blade of grass. Yeah, I want the sun mechanics to stay brighter for longer, and I hope they fix the gearboxes as well, so they've not just completely nerfed the crap out of them. You can see now, though, is quite a good example. It's just that this needs more power, but yeah, when it's trying to feed all the axles, just can't quite manage it. And I think that's why the other Derry, the 3194 or something, I don't know how, I might be wrong on that, but I don't remember any of these names until I go attempt to say it, and then just some random number pops in my head. God knows how it remembers. Yeah, I think that's why that feels like it's got a bit more oomph to it, because I believe they've got the same engines, but it's just got, like, obviously the other Derry's got that liftable axle that's got no power going to it, so it's got more to share between the rest of them. And the same situation I've said before with the P12 and P16 as well. I think P16 feels way more powerful, even though I believe they've got the same engine as well, but it's just one less axle to feed. See, like, by now, going downhill, should be dropping the hammer a little bit more. It's random. I was seeing in the news earlier. Speaking of like, I was just thinking of like military equipment and stuff. So now America is thinking of sending the Abrams tanks to Ukraine. I'm not sure if we should be sending all that shit. Like in the UK, we're sending Challenger 2 tanks. Now they're trying to get Germany to send Leopard 2s. And yeah, because it's one thing just to give them a tank. I assume to a degree we're not going to send, like, for example, we got the Challenger 2 over here. I think we're kind of updating that now to a Challenger 3 where it's going to have, is it a rifled barrel? Because we're one of the last that use a smooth bore. But it's because we also, good old British Hesh, high explosive squash head. I think that works better from a smooth bore or something. And that's pretty good at, even if it can't punch through the armour, it just kind of hits the tank, blows up and sends a load of metal spool on the inside that kind of annihilates people. Yeah, so I think we're sending some of the older ones, but once they get there, like the actual amount of maintenance and stuff we do on tanks, like if you consider per 100 miles they drive or whatever, it's probably going to be good for a week or two, but yeah, they're not going to have anyone that knows how to work on the tanks. They're going to end up like, I don't know, I think it'll go wrong. And then they're going to have like, they could probably capture Challenger 2s, the M1 Abrams if they're sending that, and the Leopard 2s. They're going to have like, yeah, be able to see all the good shit we got. We don't want that. As I got to this point, crossing this river, I've gone round this way for no particular reason. It's just obviously the bridge is out. The game kind of makes you go the other way, but it's just overly death mud and boggy for no particular reason. So I was just curious because I've seen this little island in the middle. I kind of figured it should be able to haul its way over there. Or well, this kind of shows you a issue with the step there. Yeah, I'm sure back in the day that would just slide off like it's nothing, but it digs in more these days. And this as well. I'm going to put a winch from the back of the trailer to that tree. And there's 2 winch points. I rip a stupid little bush out of the ground. It's like, why do they do it? So I've got to do the winch thing again. And at this point, I actually considered it when I was drawing the line, like essentially now just cutting across to the right, because that's kind of like where I want to head. But 1, I put the waypoints this way, and 2, even though you can't really see much of a current moving, it's starting to drag my trailer over and the truck, so I fired a little winch out and just dragged my way out here. I still think that was a more fun, kind of natural feeling way to cross that river than the road it offers you, that sucks pretty bad. It's again a little bit slow there, but I am in low range, diffs on and all the rest of it, so it's not obviously going to run out of revs just because the way the gearbox plays out in this game. Well, in real life, they shouldn't really run out of revs. And now, even though it's got rear steer, I think it's just from like the weight of the trailer. I don't know, my front end wasn't really digging in, so yeah, I did a little 3-point turn then. Just quickly saving the footage because I didn't want to. I don't know. I never know. I don't want to risk missing it. So yeah, maybe this would have made it if I just cut from like the other side of the river and sort of went diagonally and popped out at this point. Because I was looking earlier, I was in an hour in between taking the P16 and this truck, and I kind of lined them both up next to each other because I was eyeballing that river, and the P16's definitely got like a taller snorkel on it. But as I said, just as I was going through, I was like, sod it. I have sort of been wanting to use a Derry. It was already out in the yard, and yeah, it was a good excuse. You see, now is a good example though, this hill. I'm in first gear, auto gearbox though, and look at it, it's completely run out of power. You can see the wheels juddering, which I never really like anyway, but it's a pretty good indication that it's just, yeah, there's not enough power feeding the wheels. And even low range with the diffs on, I mean, it's creeping up there, but Doesn't exactly fill you with confidence. Which, yeah, I wonder if they send any of these, well, Oshkosh, is it Oshkosh M1040, I think these are called. Like I said, there's a recovery company near me, and they've got one, and it's an absolute unit. And I've seen videos on YouTube where they're just dragging like big, like articulated trucks that have rolled over on the road, and they're just dragging them off like they're nothing. But yeah, in this game, it's funny. I was going through the trophies the other day as well, because I've still got the main ones to do is like deliver 10 pieces of cargo in Tamir with the little Zix, and then I think Michigan or Alaska or whatever it is with the P12. But one of the trophies, it says like when 18 wheels isn't enough or something, and the trophy is to buy the Azov Antarctic for 220. Yeah, the Antarctic, and that was another one of like the two top vehicles in the game, well, looks wise, and price wise, back when this game came out, was kind of this Derry and the Antarctic, and yeah, both of them feel a little bit kind of like yeah. And I've got one of the newer kind of style of muds on this, which they seem alright. I'm pretty sure actually this Derry is one of the few that when you go for the chained, I'm sure it used to have at least, it probably might still have, like two different options of the chain tyres, and that's one of them where I kind of really notice the difference. You just sort of think, oh, chained, but yeah, they're definitely not. One is like the mud version of chained, which actually thinking about it, so this yeah, this is one of the few American vehicles then that can actually have like muds as an American vehicle, which most can't for some weird reason. And then the other ones, I think like, there might be off-road versions of the chained or something, and yeah, I remember testing them a while back, and you could tell the difference. That's why like I've always gone for the chained muds when I can on various vehicles, because I do actually think like there is you do kind of get most of the benefit of the muds, but then you get the chain traction as well, which in situations like this probably bite down in the mud, I feel a bit more, but again this thing's just lacking power, so I don't think it really would have made too much difference here. This whole phase, to be fair, like I've used muds for quite a lot of things, because the chained obviously aren't anywhere near as necessary. And then yeah, creep along this last section. I was kind of wondering, is the fuel going to make it or not? It's going to be a close one either way. So it's bits like this as well. I mean, the trailer might have scuffed a little bit there, but again, bigger tyres. Or maybe even like a raised suspension. I don't know, I think it's the bigger tyres really that help just actually make it easier to climb over all these little logs that they've laid down along the road. It's one of these vehicles as well, once you're actually like quite high up in the revs, you're probably mid-20s of fuel per minute. I think it drops down a little bit if you go into the low range. I think it's like 17, 18, but yeah, that's where all your fuel goes really, like when you are creeping along this slow. We've just about made it. To its credit, it didn't tip or anything. It did make it here. And I'm not trying to push my luck with the fuel or anything now. I am flooring it the entire time. It's this vehicle that's got no guts to it. The reason the blue kind of way markers go round the back of those red containers is originally I was just going to drive here, kind of swoop round them, drop the solar panel things off, and then go and get the metal rolls. Whereas I sort of realise about now that yeah, I've got everything I need, so I can just drop it all off in one. But you can see with the fuel, as it get down to about 9 or 8, the wheels start juddering. But immediately, pretty much, I probably got like a fifth of a truck length, if that. I'd be going mad. I've got 5 litres left. The way this game does it, where it's just like, nope. That's not enough fuel. If that was in real life, I'd get out the truck, drop kick the door, probably injure myself, and then ring the boss up and say I quit. Get your truck to the fucking square yourself. Yeah, look, I like how close I got, but it's not quite enough. See, if I didn't have a goddamn professional with me, now I'd have to, especially if you like very neat with the game and all the rest of it, and return all your trucks to the garage afterwards, I'd have to go all the way back to the garage and drive out here just to give this thing some fuel to move half a truck length forward. And I was just looking there quickly if there was any winch points that, in theory, like I remember that a little while back, but I was kind of, yeah, similar situation. Stopped like a metre or two short of the box. That's what she said. And yeah, I was able to like fire a winch out though, even when I had like 5 litres left and the engine was juddering, and pulled myself in there. But yeah, there was no winch points to be had on this one. So yeah, thanks to the goddamn horse. And yeah, that's that mission done. I think that's all the solar panel plant things built now. It's about 8 or 9 grand. Not too bad. Again, actually quite a nice mission in the end. Not too much faffing around and all the rest of it. It was a good little trek across the map. And we're done. And yeah, that's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my Patreon members. At least this thing has actually got a pretty decent horn. And the goddamn horse course. Yeah, get yourself a loaf, and I'll be back soon.